It is now my privilege to introduce this evening's keynote speaker. Jack Clarke, Jr. is a partner in the litigation department of the Riverside office of Best & Krieger, a 200-attorney law firm with offices throughout California. Mr. Clarke is involved in several types of substantial litigation matters. He has successfully defended school districts and other clients in civil rights and constitutional matters in administrative and courtroom hearings and trials. Mr. Clarke received his Juris Doctorate degree with distinction from the University of Pacific McGeorge School of Law in 1985, and his BS degree in Administrative Studies from the University of California, Riverside in 1980. Mr. Clarke has several notable accomplishments within the legal community and within the greater community. Here are just a few of them. He is a frequent speaker on education law matters in California and at national conventions. He was the first partner of African American descent in the 100-year history of his law firm. He has twice been acknowledged as one of the 100 most influential lawyers in California by California Law Business Magazine. He was the first person of African American descent to serve as chairman of the board of the Greater Riverside Chambers of Commerce. He's also a past recipient of the Citizen of the Year Award here in Riverside. He's a charter member of the UCR Athletic Hall of Fame. And finally, of additional significance to our campus, this year he completed his tenure as immediate past president of the UCR Alumni Association. Please join me in welcoming Jack Clarke, Jr.
Thank you, Dean Cullenberg, for that very kind introduction. How y'all feeling tonight, okay? I wasn't supposed to say that. What I am going to say is this. Chancellor White, graduates, honorable dignitaries and guests, friends and family, I am very humbled to be here tonight. You see, it was 30 years ago this year that I graduated from this fine institution. And to be truthful, I found the task of trying to come up with something to talk about rather daunting. I mean, talking to a first-class group of philosophers, political scientists, economists, anthropologists, soon-to-be lawyers, is, well, daunting. Historians, too. So I did what I've done many times in my almost 20 years of marriage. I asked my wife what she thought I should talk about. My wife, Sheila, is sitting over there. And she thought for a few moments, and after thinking for a few moments, she said, Jack, I've heard you talk many times over the last 18 years we've been married, and if I were you, I'd talk about 3 minutes and sit down. Now, I'm not going to take her full advice. I'm going to talk just slightly longer than that, but my wife's statement gave an idea to me for a topic tonight. And the topic is the wisdom of our family lineages and the wisdom that I hope you, the graduating class of 2010, will bring to our communities. Along that line, I want to quote my father, Jack B. Clarke Sr. He was a wise man, and he told me something I'll never forget. He said, Jack, if you ever meet a man or a woman who has told you that they did anything in their life significant and they did it on their own, that man or woman is not telling the truth. And along that line, graduates, I will acknowledge this is your day. But at the outset, I would like every parent, step-parent, every foster parent, every member of the graduate's extended family, every caregiver, every friend, every significant other, every life partner, or for that matter, anyone in the audience who is here to support one of the graduates here today in any form or fashion, gives yourselves a round of applause because it is through your support and sacrifice they are here. Now, let's talk about family wisdom. I wanted to share some, what I consider to be great wisdom that was passed along to me by a letter that was written by my late grandfather, Mr. Thomas Monroe Campbell, who was a scholar of significant achievement at Tuskegee University, a historically black college in Alabama. And he shared this wisdom with my mother, the then Elizabeth Campbell, when she started her graduate work at a college in the Midwest in 1943. In a letter to my mother, my grandfather gave the following advice. Elizabeth, don't ever, under any circumstances, forget your home training. Simple, right, and wrong. Now, I know to some of you these words may seem too obvious for words. The philosophers are probably thinking I've stated an existential banality of almost absolutely insignificant proportions. As far as I can tell, there's no right or wrong in economics. The historians and anthropologists are probably wondering if my grandfather was a reputable primary authority. And the political scientists have no concept of right or wrong at all, except as handed down by a severely divided opinion from the Supreme Court. But I would submit, with all due respect to your skepticism, that the simplicity of my grandfather's advice masks its profundity. Graduates, too many very educated people seem to lose their minds once they leave universities like this. And I'm very serious about this. For example, I understand there are a lot of relatively educated people in our state legislature and in our state executive branch. Yet as a group, they seem to have lost the basic concept of right and wrong. Like the concept that it is wrong not to do every possible thing you can to make sure that public higher education is available to everyone in this state. Or like the concept that it's right to keep the public good at the forefront of their minds and actions, rather than letting the completely artificial distinctions of political parties shape policy decisions. I, for one, have come to a point in my life where I don't care of titles such as Democrat or Republicans, and I am tired of hearing about conservatives and liberals. I'm much more concerned with the integrity of a person's critical thinking abilities. In that regard, graduates, my sincerest hope is that you will all work to bring a new type of wisdom to the fore. That instead of merely seeking secure positions within the system, or I think it was referred to earlier as the establishment, you will seek to change the entire paradigms upon which our institutions are based. I'm very, very serious about this. If your studies have shown you anything, I hope they have shown you that the social, economic, and political systems that we live under are simply ingenious ideas that caught on. That's it. That means they can be changed. They're malleable. And you, my brothers and sisters, through your studies have mastered the use of language, have studied the great concepts of the great thinkers. But now it's time for you to apply what you have mastered, and I implore you, have the courage to help us change the paradigms under which we're living. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute, Jack, how can I do that? I mean, I'm just one person. Figure it out. You have an advanced degree. That's what you came here for. In other words, don't forget your home training, basic right and wrong. Now, my grandfather shared another piece of advice in that letter he sent to my mother in 1943. In addition to not forgetting home training, he gave her the following advice. Elizabeth, don't swear. Cowards do mostly this. And don't use vulgar language. Now, on the whole, I think that is good and admirable advice. But I have to respectfully disagree with my grandfather in a small way because I believe we in the 21st century need to draw from the full spectrum of language available to us as human beings. In other words, on very rare occasions, you do need to cuss to get your point across. I want to be clear. Now, wait, hold a minute. Don't get drunk on this. I want to be clear. I'm not in any way advocating cussing. But let me give you a real-world example of an appropriate situation. Several years ago, I was in my law office, and I was exchanging verbal jabs with one of my law partners. Happens to be a very good friend of mine. And this is true. During the course of the conversation, he said words to this effect. Clarke, I don't get it. I attended an Ivy League university. I attended an Ivy League law school. And you, Clarke, attended a small state-supported university and a non-Ivy League law school, and I end up in an office next to you. Now, see, this is an occasion when I could not follow my grandfather's advice. Indeed, I can't even repeat here the words that I used. But I can give you a loose translation. Loosely translated, I said to him, my friend, the University of California, Riverside prepares its graduates doggone well. My translation of what I said to my law partner is an absolute truth. The training and life experience that I obtained here have been some of the most significant gifts of my life, right up there with my 2 children. I would encourage you to tend to your accomplishments like a master gardener. Through your work, you have tilled the fields of your intellect and stamina and brought forth fruit, which has brought you here today. And please keep working those fields, because I can almost guarantee even sweeter fruit is ahead. Be proud of what you accomplished, my brothers and sisters. As my mother used to say, it's a poor dog that won't wag its own tail. So enjoy this day. And I'm almost done now. In closing, I would note that my grandfather spoke in terms of prohibitions. Don't do this and don't do that. Here in the 21st century, I want to finish the words of empowerment rather than prohibition. First, be absolutely certain that despite our difficult times in this country and in this world, the education you've received here and the discipline you've learned here at UCR will help you not only survive, but actually thrive. And I respectfully disagree with my soon-to-be partner in the bar. You will thrive, graduates. Second, be absolutely sure you can change the paradigms of our society. Use your critical thinking skills. Use your persuasiveness. Help us all to become, as a community, as a society, better. I am sincere in saying that we are counting on you. Third and finally, be sure never, ever to forget this wonderful university we call UCR. My mother also used to say, Jack, don't forget who brought you to the dance. Stay close to UCR in your heart and mind. Come back and mentor students. Support UCR's programs in whatever way you can, because at the end of this day, you will all be alumni and we will truly be family. And then it will become incumbent on each one of you to carry on the lineage of UCR and to share your family wisdom with your respective communities and ultimately with the world. Congratulations, class of 2010, and thank you for your kind attention.